Hello, welcome to Do It Yourself with Wayne. Today we're working on building another raised bed for our gardening. Behind me you can see our existing old one that we built a few years ago. We've been real pleased with it. We've also got over this way that you can't see off the camera there our regular garden that's just in the side of the driveway there. But we wanted more space this year, so we're building another raised bed. And this is going to be a lengthy process because it's cold. We're here in the second week of January and it's threatening snow right now. So, this is going to take a while to finish, but bear with us. It might take a little while, but we bought 16-foot 2x8s. We're going to go 2 high, just like on our old cold frame, our old raised bed rather. And we bought 16 footers because we're going to do 16 feet long, be 4 feet wide. So we take one of the 16-foot 2x8s, we cut it in half, and then we cut the halves in half, and that gives us 4 of the end pieces to go across the end, like so. Now for blocking in the corners, we had some old 4x4 posts. They don't look all that great, but they're treated so they'll last. And so we just cut those to the heights of 2 rows of 2x8s. And you'll see that a little bit more as we progress. So that's what we're doing here. We got one end put together. We're going to get ready to put the other end together. We could use screws, we could use nails. There's a lot of different things you can do, but I do have a pneumatic framing nailer, so I'm using that to nail the parts together. And normally I would use screws, but that's a lot quicker, and I think it'll be sufficient for what we're doing here. Now I'm on the other end, and what I've done here to get the edges even, and I'm building this upside down for starters, and the reason I do that, it's easier to get the edges smooth, and I put an old 4x4 underneath before I attach these, and that'll keep the bottom of this board and the post all at the same height. So when I turn it upside down, that'll be the top, and everything will be nice and even. And I also blocked this corner up because this end is a little bit low. So now I've got it squared up. I just put a few nails in it. All right, that should take care of that corner. Now we'll do the same thing on the other corner. Just need to pull things together where they're squared up good. There we go. There we go. Obviously, I guess you can see the snow, we're getting a little bit more. I was informed a while ago I made a mistake. I said we were second week in January, this second week in February. But anyway, we're going to do what we can before the snow gets any worse or whatever. All right. Now that'll take care of getting the first row boxed in. And like I said, we're building this upside down. And obviously our ground is not exactly level. What we'll do is we'll put our box this way just a little bit from where we're going to end up with. And we'll level the ground over here so we can move it back and drop it down into where it's a little bit more level. The corner up there will probably recess down a little bit into the soil. This end will probably be raised a little bit, but we'll balance it out so that the raised bed is pretty much level, even though the ground is not. Now we're ready to put our second row of 2x8s on here. We picked out the ones that we wanted. Some of the 2x8s have sides that don't look so nice, or they're rough cut a little bit or something. So we picked through them and made sure that the parts that we don't like so much are to the inside where they'll be covered up. And so now we're just gonna nail these on. Okay, now there's one last thing that we're going to do is we're going to go about middle ways, and we're going to put bracing from side to side so that over time the sides don't bow out. We did that on our other raised bed and it worked really well. So now I'm going to find some wood for blocking and do that. Now for the cross member to go across the middle, I'm going to use some old treated wood that I had laying around. I don't have any 2x4s, which is what I would prefer to go just on the inside that the cross member would nail to. So I got this old 2x6. I'm just going to rip it kind of in half to make 2 short pieces out of it. So let me do that right quick. And then cut crossways. And that'll give me the 2 pieces that I wanted that will be on the inside, but they'll be like that. So the cross member can nail here, and it'll be blocked up and it'll be securely attached. Now my center is right there. And actually this will work for my cross member. I was going to use this other one, but this one's long enough. I'll remeasure it. 48 inches. All right, so this piece should fit right across here, like so. And I'll go down about halfway so that it's partly tied into both of these boards. And then the this piece here will just be on the inside like I mentioned. I'm gonna get my pneumatic nailer and nail those in now. All right, now one more on the other side. Now, that should be strong enough to hold it. And this part, like I said, I'm going to put about halfway down. Like so. And that should take care of the sides bowing out over time. So at this point, we pretty much got the box made. We're not trying to make a work of art here. We're just trying to get a decent box for our raised bed. And so now the next step is to flip it over and put it where it's going to be and make sure we get it leveled up. At this point, we got our box built, and now we want to make sure that it's perfectly square, or at least really close. There's a lot of ways to do that. If you got a big square like this, you can use this. Look at your corners. Make sure things are squared up. And that'll get you real close. Another way you can do it, and the way a lot of contractors do it, use your tape measure. Put your tape measure in one corner and measure to the opposite corner. Now right there, we got 200 inches exactly. Now if you measure the opposite direction, you should have the exact same measurement if it's square. And I think we're off by about 1/8 of an inch. But my wood could be off 1/8 of an inch in the lengths I've cut, so I'm not going to worry about 1/8 of an inch. But that's another good way of determining that the box that you built is square. It works on squares, it works on rectangles, and it just helps you verify that what you got is squared up. Now another thing we're going to do is we're going to take these 2x4s, and I'm using 2x4s because it's something I've got. But a 1x2 or something like that would work just fine as well. I'm going to crisscross them here, and I'm going to nail them in place. Now what that does for us, we've got to level up our ground. And with these angled 2x4s here on the top, my box can't twist. It's gonna stay square. If we have to pick it up and move it a little bit, I'm not gonna lose the square part of my box. And that's why we did that, just to make sure it stays square. So now we're gonna proceed to leveling our ground a little bit. At this point, we've got our box built, and we've got to determine exactly where we're going to place it before we start filling it up and making it level. Now this board is 2 feet from here, which would make our walkway between the two raised beds 2 feet. And we thought about that, but we feel like that's too narrow because last year we had zucchini and squash and stuff in this area, and over the season the leaves tended to grow over the edge of the raised bed, which would really encroach on this space. So we decided to go with 3 feet, which would give us this space. So that's what we're going with, is 3 feet between our raised beds. Of course, this is a personal preference. This is nothing scientific. You do what you want to do, but that's what we decided on. Now, on our raised bed, here we got this box built. We got this edge level from end to end. Okay, now I know that side is still low. We'll work with that a little bit later. But right now, this edge is level this way. And we moved it over a little bit from where we're going to end up with, so we can dig a little bit of a trench down through there for that edge to drop down in just a little bit because that edge, the ground is lower. Obviously our ground here is not level, so that's what we'll try to level up to get our raised bed level. So that's what we're going to proceed with at this point. We're going to dig a trench right here. Then once we get that, we'll slide the box back to it to let it drop down in it. So this side will be a little bit lower, and then we'll raise that side up a little bit to make the whole box level. So that's where we're at this point. Now at this point we finished leveling up our box. The far corner is still a little bit high. We just blocked it up a little bit on the inside, and I think that'll be okay. But you know, it doesn't have to be perfectly level, but it looks a little nicer if it is. But then after we got the box leveled up, we went around our yard picking up old sticks and stuff that's fallen out of the trees during the recent storm. We put those sticks and some leaves and stuff in the very bottom. We came back on top of that with cardboard that we've collected over time. And we'll be wetting the cardboard down before we put anything on top of it, because that helps to break down the cardboard. And then we'll come back, we've got a bunch of compost that we've created. We're gonna be dumping compost on top of the cardboard, and we'll let this set. And that's basically called lasagna gardening, because it's done in layers like a lasagna. But anyway, that's the way we're building or filling our raised bed in. So now we're going to proceed with getting some compost in here. Now we've got several loads of compost in our raised bed, and I know everybody doesn't have a tractor, but believe me, I've not always had a tractor. When we built the first one, I carted it all up here in a wheelbarrow with unloading it with a shovel. So don't worry about not having a tractor. It's no big deal. Maybe it's a little more work, but you can do it just the same. But now I'm gonna take my rake and gonna level this out, and we'll probably need to add a little bit more, but we'll see when we get it leveled out. Okay, I think we're going to let it go at that for now. We still got at least a month and a half yet before we'll actually be planting anything here. That'll give it some time to settle. And I've got a lot of really good compost soil in my garden, and we'll be taking some of that to lay on top, for the top of this. And again, this is kind of like lasagna composting for your garden, where you do things in layers. So our top layer is going to be garden soil out of our garden that we haven't been amending for years. So we're going to let this go for right now, let it settle down, let it have some time. And like I said, in a month and a half or so, we'll be planting in this raised bed, and we'll do a video of that as well. Well, that's it for now for this particular raised bed. We're going to be building an additional raised bed just like it right over here beside of me, in line with the first two that we've got. And this is like our second video in a series of gardening for this year. We're going from seed to table. And we've already done the first video. If you've missed that, just like and subscribe to our channel. It'll be easy to find. But we've already done one video about seed starting in the house. So look for that. We'll put a link to it up at the top so make it easier to find it. But like I said, we're getting ready to build a second one just like this. And we'd just like to say thank you for visiting Do It Yourself with Wayne. And we hope you have a great gardening season.